Good afternoon, good lunchtime, everyone. Indeed, my name is 𝗕𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 years, finishing my degree in applied computer science. Building those websites, I understood, okay, it's fun to make websites, but I'd rather break them. So I joined Deloitte as an internship in cybersecurity, more specifically in the vigilant resilience section, meaning it was the ethical hackers. At the end of my internship, they offered me a contract, which of course I accepted, and I stayed with Deloitte here in 𝗬𝗵𝗶 for almost 3 years, become a senior pen tester there. But I'm coming from an entrepreneurial family, and yeah, I got the entrepreneurial bug inside of me. So after those 3 years, I decided, you know what, let me build my own company, a security company. So I founded ZeroFeed. During ZeroFeed, which mostly focusing on penetration testing, I also still had that web development or web application development inside of me, and I started creating a project as of day one, which as of today is the tool we're going to talk about. And since September this year, we joined forces with 𝗬𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to provide even more features and a bigger solution repository, meaning I'm now their Chief Development Officer, bridging the technical and the client-facing side to make sure we have a good product. Within the cybersecurity world, as I mentioned, I really started from security auditing, pen testing, making sure that applications were safe, infrastructures were safe, are all the API endpoints correctly secured, by actually becoming a hacker and turning that into an awareness session. Making awareness to the employees who are maybe not that technical, and making sure they are up to date with the latest security threats, as of phishing, for example. Now those are very project-based topics. I also did some consulting in the past, C-level advice, vulnerability management, vulnerability scanning even, or also maybe help defining what are the policies that should be enrolled within a company. And from doing all those different type of topics, I saw a need of having a uniform platform where everything comes together, and where any type of company, big or small, can just view one dashboard and know what they have to do. And that's where ZeroFeed came from, where it originated from. So my expertise over the past years helped me shape this platform as is today. There are a lot of changes coming. As I mentioned, we are partnering with 𝗬𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, but I want to highlight today the current feature set. I've took my time to create screenshots rather than actually give a demo, because I see people working there in the server room. So just to be sure that we do not lose access to our application, I played it safe and made sure we have some awesome screenshots to show you. First of all, what is the main feature set of the application? It's being a dashboard, but also having all your assets, no matter what type they are, within hand reach, be up to date with threats, and keep a track of things you are doing within your organization. As part of domain scanning, we are able to really take a look at the external part of your organization as well as the internal part. From this feature set, as you can see on the screenshot, we have like a big meter as of now. That's really giving you, this is your current cyber health. What is the current status of your organization in terms of actions you are taking to protect yourself from known threats? So as mentioned, everything starts from the nav bar, as a navigation bar, where we have our dashboard as a first item. Other than that, we have different sources, which I'll get into right after this. We have some company-specific information you can reach, but also your personal information. The dashboard says it all. I always went from the intention a dashboard needs to be readable by anyone within the company. Is it C-level? Is it a technical cyber hacker or whatever? It needs to be understandable by everyone. So here we see the core of the dashboard, where at top we have the 4 sources. Which assets do we have? Which type of reports do we keep track of? And do those two result into threats? Threats actively relevant for our company. And lastly, we have risks. So do we have a risk register? Another thing to take into account is, okay, what are our most vulnerable assets, which could be interesting for someone more technical. Without having to look into our big list of threats and assets, we can quickly see these 5 topics with these 5 assets within our organization should be tackled right away, along with the amount of threats they are linked to and an average risk score. Lately, we're also going even further, rather than just looking at CVEs and if they are relevant to your company, we also map them to the 𝗕𝗕𝗃. Are they currently exploited? Are they known exploitable vulnerabilities? Are they currently being exploited by hackers? Here again, you can see those are clickable in the end, where you can really quickly identify which CVEs, which threats are currently high priority because they have known exploitable threats. As well as your oldest threats, that's quite interesting, especially for management, which of these assets or which of these threats are still within our company and how long have they been there. A dashboard wouldn't be a dashboard without some color, without some graphs. So we have, for example, here, the amount of threats per risk rating, because it's very important to know, okay, we have 100 vulnerabilities, but are they low? Are they low, medium in terms of risk rating, or are they high or critical even? I've talked about those 4 sources. I'll get into them later. But here you can also see how well you are scoring, generating that overall score I showed you in the beginning with regards to your settings. Let us focus on the linked assets part as of now, which may seem quite a lot, but we have like a filter here, so we can really only find the information that we need. One of my favorite filters is internal, external. Is that assets that we're looking at or that we're looking for attached to the internet? Is someone able to reach it from the internet, or is it only available inside of a network? Or we can also filter on type. What type of asset is it? We're looking for some hardware. We have an HP server in the server rack, or I'm only looking for those outdated Windows XP systems, just to give an example. This filter lets you really find that information you need on a rather quick pace. A very interesting part here as well is that we have the copy, Excel, PDF, and CSV functionality, allowing you to filter what you're looking for and make a quick export. Hey, can you give me the list of assets related to this? Well, you found them rather quickly. Of course, when you fill in your filters, you can see the information you actually need. Those can have some notes, which types are there, who are they linked to, but most importantly, do they have vulnerabilities? So here again, you can filter, you can order, give me the assets with the most vulnerabilities. Hey, this is an interesting asset. Click on the ellipsis and to view more details. Every asset, for example, here we have an IP address, can have a risk rating or a priority rating, giving 5 stars, meaning it is a very important asset. Link that to it being connected to the internet and having 100 vulnerabilities, you already get alerted and you know, hey, this should be tackled right away. This view is very interesting to see an overall view of a certain asset, but as you can see, we highly link the most important section being the threats, the actual vulnerabilities. Those can be, of course, viewed in more detail by clicking on the arrow, where you can see the more detailed information of the threat. For example, what is a summary? What is the, depending on where it's coming from, you can also see what you can do about it, which steps do we need to take, to which it's linked, and even to which IP it is linked. You might have noticed we are really looking for or really using the CVSS scoring here, because we need some type of metric to rate an observation. So depending on where, again, the information is coming from, you can see the CVSS matrix or components linked to it. Currently, I'm explaining the manual flow. So once you've seen an observation, you can see, no, it's a false positive. It's not relevant. It is possible. We do a lot automated. So it is possible that something is just a false positive. You can either mark it as solved, depending which tools you have. It can go automatically or not. You can add a note stating I'm looking into it or assign it to someone, or you can accept it. When you accept a threat, we go to the next chapter, being a risk register. As a company, it is interesting to know which different risks are we accepting in today's environment, because you can accept something for a reason, but you have to put a date on it. Yeah, you have to follow it up. Again, here we have a table which you can easily export and have a good view on which items are to be tackled within your company or are still open. Having this said, we already discussed 3 of the 4 major core components, threats and risks, but we skipped one. We skipped one, being reports. Reports is one of the most important sections of our platform because it's very wide. You can really use different type of things here. Again, we have a filtering list. We have a list where you can export, but here we try to give you an overview of actions you've really taken yourself. So nothing passive, no passive scanning, actual reports, actual items, projects you've done yourself can be tracked here. So for example, we've done a vulnerability scan on different hosts. You can view the results here. We've done a phishing campaign, an awareness campaign, actual projects you've set up within your company. What can be added as of now, we are talking about the current feature set, is, for example, penetration tests. Here we've done a penetration test for a client, or are we doing it themselves? You can actually make a report manually within the platform and keep track of all those vulnerabilities, all those observations with likelihood, impact, recommendation, screenshots, and so on. You can make your own report within the tool. Here, the interesting part is, as soon as the penetration test is finished, those observations will be put into the threats table, the overall threats table, meaning all your different threats are combined together. Phishing, hey, I've done a phishing campaign because we do not want to only focus on the technical part. There's also the human factor of cybersecurity, along with awareness sessions. Those are items we really want to keep track in the platform, because those are also, again, actions you are taking to become a more secure company. Lastly, we also support vulnerability scanners, Nessus, Holm. Some of those are automated with simple API key. Some of those we just have to upload a report, but changes are coming in the future. Now that we have had our 4 big core components of core metrics for the score, we also have a more company-specific view. For example, the internal and external view of your organization. Here we try to create a visual representation of what is within your company, going from the domain name to the software components, hardware components, and so on. We do this both for internal and external assets that we find. Of course, we can also add users. It's very important to allow you to add users to your company. Here, we simply click new user and we provide the email address, and we decide, can they log into the portal and are they a manager? Checking can they log into the portal means this user can actually use the dashboard itself. Now, I hear you asking, why shouldn't we want to do this? Well, assets can have an owner. I found that this asset is vulnerable. You can look at its owner and contact that person. That does not mean that that user needs to have access to the portal. What's the difference between a manager and a non-manager? It's just reading and writing access. We want to have some segregation there, so not everyone can just accept items without their manager knowing. As you've seen in the nav bar, there's also a settings page, and this is one of the most important pages to really make the platform your own. One of those things is domains. Here you'll be able to add your own domain, but to counter just people adding domains without everyone knowing it, we've put in a filter, a measure in place. As soon as you enter your domain, you will be provided with a code as shown here. This code needs to be added to your DNS records just to be sure that that domain is actually yours. Well, why should we do this, you ask? Well, as soon as that domain is validated, you will be scanned passively from the external side. It's a very interesting feature because without having to do anything, just creating the account or starting the license, your platform will be populated with assets. For example, domain names, subdomain names, software components that are found, but also versions that are being found externally. From those versions, we can try to find vulnerabilities. So we are populating your assets table and your threats table with just creating an account. These scans are done every month as of now. Of course, you may not use all these different topics that are helping your score. So you are able to enable, disable all these different components separately. Why should you enable or disable them? Well, I bring you back to the dashboard where I have that big meter, that score. That score meaning will be calculated upon different settings. On the settings page, you also have the sources, and then you can fine tune how am I looking at certain tactics or certain topics within cybersecurity space. For example, I always like to take source 2, the threats. Good. Source T001 is the maximum amount of days to resolve a vulnerability registered to your company. To give you an example, I have found a critical observation, a critical threat. Well, here I state within my settings that needs to be fixed within the day. After 1 day, your score will dramatically drop because you're not fixing those criticals on time. You are incentivized to really get started with those threats. Next to those days, you can also add a weight to it. Just a quick example, I've seen a lot of companies who use this, put their risk register, for example, on a very low weight because they know it's there and that shouldn't affect the score as much. Those were very quick steps to what we've discussed, what is there as of now. But like I said, we are partnering up with 𝗧𝗵𝗀, and they have a magnificent suite of tools that we really want to include there as well. We really want to make that dashboard as rich as possible for all type of customers, all type of clients, big or small. 𝗧𝗵𝗀 has some interesting tools, like I said, and we're getting started with secure sites. So, for example, we want to have a monitor for leaked credentials. So we just register a domain and we find leaked credentials on the dark web or just on the normal web, as we say, to find as much threats there to ensure that our users are up to date. Hey, we're using, for example, Sentinel-1, maybe we'll add support there as well. We're using attack surface management to even further put that external interface, that external network into place. These are some items that we are looking for in the future, but as of now, it's slow pace, but we'll get there rather soon. I may be running ahead of time. I don't have a clock here, but these are a very quick demonstration of the application itself, of the things we keep track of. And of course, you can contact me on my different information, as well as Brightest, of course. They are already a partner with our tool. They know also more or likely the ins and outs of it, and then they are coming with very interesting feedback towards what they get from their customers. And that's something we really appreciate, because again, I have a certain vision. I want this platform to be usable by anyone, but of course, I need feedback from anyone to further improve it overall. So I think that we can have a Q&A. I'm happy to answer some questions and even go back in slides if required.
Great, thank you so much, 𝗕𝗿. It doesn't really matter if you are ahead of time. If you said everything, that's nice.
There's plenty to tell, so
thank you
I have
so
to
much.
pick and choose.
No problem. So yeah, time for Q&A. If you have any question, you either raise your hand or just unmute yourself. If you want to type it out and want me to read it out loud, that's also fine. So whatever feels comfortable. So yeah, in case of any questions, now's the time.
Hey, 𝗕𝗿. Very good presentation. Thank you. I have a quick question on the scans. So there is a passive and an active scanner. Can you just explain the difference, and maybe also can you do an active scan on a production environment, or is it a test environment is more recommended?
Okay, good, very good question. Thank you very much. So the passive scanning is, like the name says, very passive. We are going to take a domain name, and we have a proprietary script we wrote ourselves, and it goes to check certain items, certain elements on the internet, and add those to the platform. So that's not. It's only using passive sources, things on the internet. We rarely touch the domain itself. Like the active scanning, it's the contrary. Those will be registered as a report, like I mentioned. It will add to the report section, and those are indeed very intensive scans. Of course, we can tweak them depending if it is a production environment or not. What can be considered, or what can be considered to scan an active domain, or where can an active scan be used? It can be internally. So we put in a box in the network and it will scan the internally side of the network, or we can take a web application. There, it really depends. We have customers who use an active scan on their environment, which it's production and they don't feel anything. On the other hand, we have other customers, those really feel an intensive scan. So we have to really fine tune and do some preliminary checks before we go there. So 9 out of 10, it's no issue to do an active scan, depending on which firewalls you have in place. I hope that answers your question, Steph.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Thanks. Maybe some people in the audience, also 𝗕𝗿, are interested about the free scan you are going to do for some customers. So maybe you can just high level mention what is included in there from the slides you showed just now. Yeah, thanks.
So these free scans are really the passive scans. So there we make a quick scan of the external side of the network with our custom scripts. And that's why we really like that one, is because it's already populating the dashboard itself. It will add those assets, being domain names and subdomain names. Funny fact, I think almost every time we do that scan, we find a subdomain and the customer tells us, yeah, but that should not be online anymore. We'll remove it. From those subdomains and domains, we'll find software components. And if we have a version, we'll add that as well and find vulnerabilities of that version. We have some customers who are running the latest versions of their software, so they will not find any threats, and others will have threats in there. So that is something that can be set up by Brightest as well, where we can quickly set up a trial account. Those are active for 30 days, in which they can use the application itself. With those assets being added, now within those 30 days, you can really play with the tool itself, meaning you can accept vulnerabilities, click through them, mark them as solved, add users, and so on. It's fully capable. If you have other tooling that is is linked within the tool, you can use those as well. So there's no limit there. A quick example, we have a Nessus file, we have a Nessus scanner going on. You can just upload the file and it will also be added within the platform.
Okay, great. Thanks. Any other questions?
Maybe one more, 𝗕𝗿, also for the internal scanning. How does that work? Because that's also possible, I think.
Yes, correct. So internal scanning can be done with several tools, either ones you already have or the ones you purchase through a supplier, where we can place a box within a network or a virtual machine. It doesn't really matter. And there we provide a range. We provide a range of IP addresses that will be scanned. We can tweak those scans as well. To give an example, we have a customer who has two different ranges. We have a virtual server range, and we have a client range, a workstation range, where we solely focus on that server range. We put the box there, and that will scan those different hosts for vulnerabilities, known exploits, and so on. Once that scan is finished, the results will automatically be pushed in the platform. There you will see a notification, a new report has been added, because again, a report is something actively done by you or someone within the company, where you get an overview of your different hosts and along with their vulnerabilities. Depending on which type of vulnerability you have, it will state, hey, it needs to be fixed rather quickly or not.
And you can really zoom in per asset.
Yes, you can zoom in per asset. You pick one asset, and there you can see all the different threats that are linked to it. So if I quickly go back to asset detail. So this is the overview of all different scans. If you click on the ellipsis, you will see all these hosts were scanned, and then you can really go into the asset of that scan. Otherwise, you just go to your assets table, and here you will see the vulnerabilities go up, where you can just get a whole view of all the threats found by or linked to that asset. So these are, for example, from a scanner, but it can also be from passive scanning or somewhere else.
Thanks.
And also maybe important to elaborate on is that we also have the possibility, we as Brightest, to add tenants to our accounts so that we can help our customers, help them with their security maturity, I would say it like that.
Correct.
So that we can really help and see, okay, what's still to do at our customers, and that we can help and give information on the different threats and topics.
Yeah, indeed. So Brightest has a special account with the platform where they can have a quick overview of, hey, these companies are running behind. We'll put a hand, we'll reach a hand out to really improve the overall security, and that is indeed, yeah. That's I think as a builder of the platform, I might be biased, but I think that is one of the core features where you can really see your progress. We had customers who. You see them in the graph growing day by day because they're actively seeing all the different threats that are in the company. And when they need help, they can reach out to the correct suppliers to help them with either a pen test or vulnerability management service, or just a quick call or asking questions. So those are all available, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? So as 𝗕𝗿 already mentioned, you can either contact him later on or Brightest to ask any question you might still have, or request further information on this tool, or on working together, or on the free scan. Voila. So yeah, that leaves me thanking you, 𝗕𝗿, for this session. It was really informative, and probably also good to know what is in this free scan for everybody who's interested. So great. Thank you so much.